These newspaper article readings are not for the faint-hearted or the squeamish. If you're at all sensitive, I might suggest these aren't for you. If in doubt, check the description below. It'll tell you which topics are covered in this particular episode. There's both human and animal suicides, and you heard that right. There's also horrific descriptions of injuries, as well as the deaths of youngsters. So don't do it to yourself if you're prone to nightmares, is all I'll say right now. Not all the articles are horrible. Some of them are uplifting, some of them show incredible bravery and heroism. There are near misses. So these were picked as showing life prior to health and safety, as well as for the crazy and curious details some contain, with other miscellaneous happenings that kind of struck me enough to post the articles to Twitter, despite not having too much relevance to Scotland necessarily. These are worldwide topics, and they didn't have any real connection to the projects I was working on and researching at the time. I just happened to have come across them by the way, kind of thing. So we'll get into them, shall we? What we're going to do here is we're going to do a lucky dip of newspaper articles to really mix them up a wee bit, because while I'm doing the researches, I'm obviously coming up with the same kind of terms and things. So we'll mix them up even further. So to that end, I have all of the newspaper titles and dates of the articles. Okay, what has the head got for us this episode? Let's find out. This one. I think I have two. This one. The Hamilton Herald and Lanarkshire Weekly News for the 10th of June 1904 is starting us off. Let's find out what this is. This is an article that I remember very well. It struck me as kind of heartless, I guess. You'll see what I mean. So it's from like Australia or New Zealand or something. Right, so it reads, most of the line from Woodlands to Shingle Bar ran through the heavily timbered country and was unfenced. In the great clearings the feed was rank, while along the railway line grew clover, so all the sheep and cattle that could do so haunted the embankments. Owen Tintagel didn't mind sheep. He simply ran through them, but cattle were a tougher proposition. Smashing up cattle with a railway engine is a fine art. The novice invariably damages his engine or fails to knock the beast clear and gets off the rails with the train piled on top of him. Owen Tintagel was a past master at the art, and it was really a treat to see the way he did it. His accidents always happened in the daytime, and the department winked at what it was morally certain was wilfulness. Each driver on the road would, if he could, cut up stock by day so as to make owners take steps to keep it clear of the track, for there was an ever-present dread in each driver's mind of running over a sleeping cow by night and consequent wreck and death. Near the southern approach to Mungawera Bridge was a brindled bull that all the drivers were anxious to wipe out. He frequently camped right between the rails and had nearly caused several accidents. This beast was known as the Bull. Any other animal of his species had to get along anonymously, whilst this preeminent beast was using the name. And that's from the Hamilton Herald and Lanarkshire Weekly News for the 10th of June 1904. And I get it. I get the point made that by running over the cattle and the sheep, during the day at least, they're it's almost like a protest act in order to get the farmers to fence in their animals. Get your animals off the line, make it impossible for them to get to the line, and everyone will be happy. Your stock, your cattle and sheep won't be cut up by trains, and the trains don't run the risk of derailment and just a horrifying death for anybody on board. I get it. But the way that is written, that Owen Tintagel appears to take quite a lot of joy in the points he scores, getting each animal. The fact that they're all out for this one bull, that he's like an infamous bull. So, well, that article grabbed my attention. I'll have another one. We have The Scotsman for the 6th of March, 1906. So this one reads, prompt measures have been taken with the recalcitrant natives in Natal. Colonel Looker's troops surrounded Gobezembe's kraal in the Mapamulu district and captured the chiefs. The kraal was shelled after it had been cleared of its inhabitants. 40 of Gobezembe's headmen afterwards tendered their submission. They inquired of the British magistrate the reason for the shelling of the village, and were told that the guns were the voice of the supreme chief. And that's as reported in The Scotsman for the 6th of March, 1906. And I assumed that article was meant to be funny to the readers, and I think back in the day, maybe it would have been found funny to make out to these people that, the authority or the weapons that are being used. I don't know. I don't know. It's almost like the British were treating them like children or something. I don't know. Anyway, have another one. The Dundee Evening Telegraph for the 18th of September 1905. Okay, this is a really sad wee story that I think will end us. Rigid Japanese etiquette. Etiquette forms the sum total of the life of the old Japanese nobility, and it is most wonderful to see the calm, quiet manner in which a delicate little Japanese will pass through scenes which etiquette demands should be enacted in a purely conventional manner. For example, it is an old recognized rule of court etiquette that a Japanese prince of the imperial family must die at home in his own palace. After the War of 1894 between Japan and China, Prince Kita Shirakawa died while in active service in Formosa, and his embalmed body was brought to Japan and landed at Hiroshima when it was conveyed by train to Tokyo, a journey of some 48 hours. To keep up the delusion that the prince was alive, the mayors and officials of every town through which the train passed were assembled at the station to bid him welcome, and school teachers with their pupils in holiday attire were lined up on the platform of each stopping place to sing songs of congratulation upon his safe return. As the train drew into each station, an officer of the prince's retinue alighted, whereupon the mayor presented his address of welcome and the children sang their song. The officer thanked them, saying that the prince was much touched by their welcome and regretted that his state of health prevented his appearing at the car window. Then the officer stepped aboard and the train moved off to the strains of another song of joy. The train was timed to arrive at Tokyo at night, when the station would be almost free from passenger traffic, and there the widowed princess and her children awaited the homecoming of the prince. When the train came in, the casket was laid upon a closely curtained stretcher and placed upon the platform. Then the princess, advancing, congratulated the prince upon his safe return, and her little son, following his mother's brave example, lisped his words of welcome to the dead father, who would never again take him in his arms, never again help him to buckle on the tiny sword, or wage mimic battles. And that's from the Lady's Home Journal, as reported in the Dundee Evening Telegraph for the 18th of September 1905. And we have been joined by a Etiquette. Yea. Should we attempt for a less sad ending to the episode? Let's see what the hat has, shall we? I feel like that was a wee shame for the boy having to pretend like his dad was alive. I don't know how that would have stayed with him into adulthood. I wonder the after effect of that kind of pretense. I don't know, I just feel sorry for the kid in that one, I guess. We have the Scotsman for the 10th of February 1906. Can we trust that the Scotsman is going to have something positive for us? What do we think? Okay, we got what we've asked for. We've got a short, non-death article. So it's entitled Gunpowder in Cigarettes. In Paisley, Justice of the Peace Court yesterday, Marks Radomski, tobacco dealer, Pollokshaws, was fined £10 for having, on the 15th of November, sold to an officer of Inland Revenue half an ounce of manufactured tobacco, namely cigarettes, in which gunpowder was found. And that's from the Scotsman, 10th of February 1906. Is that like... I mean, what? It's like joke cigarettes, isn't it? The ones that explode in your face. But then, if they're not set up to be jokes, if there's literally just gunpowder mixed in with the tobacco, maybe as a combustible way to add weight to the batch, that's got to be dangerous. Like, I mean, at least if it's set up like a joke, there's going to be some kind of safety in place so that the person doesn't get his nose blown off, you know. I would think that's probably fairly dangerous. What a thing to add to something that people are going to set fire to anyway. Like, I don't know. That's crazy. Back in the days was crazy. I think that's really the moral to the majority of these articles. So, I think what we're also learning is that not very much changes, I guess, as well. At least that's what I'm seeing. Alright, until the next one.